I met Bob Koch because he was on the board of the University of Evansville. And shortly after that, I was asked to be on the board of Citizens of National Bank here, and he was also a longtime member of that board.
I knew him actually through my father, who at that time was called J. Henry Schrader, and he ran the Sunbeam Corporation here in town as executive vice president. But I knew Bob through that contact, I guess you might say.
He was very enthusiastic about its program. He provided $1 million for the building that bears his name on the campus now.
And as you know, the Cooks at that time had interesting occupations beside their major job. And one of the things they started up at that time was a bunch of hardware stores called Cason's Hardware Stores. And they had 2 or 3 in Evansville, and they had them around other small towns in the Midwest. So I was on the hardware store part of it too. That didn't last more than a couple of years and they got out of it, but it was very interesting.
He was a wise counselor. He was a quiet man, but you always knew whether he was approving or not so sure of what you were up to.
No, he didn't like to make speeches. He didn't like to do anything like that, but he worked very well with everybody.
He just had a way of letting you know what his feelings were. Excellent judge, an enthusiastic supporter, but a quiet man. He didn't toot his horn or anybody else's really. And most of his benefactions were determined by him and just announced.
Both Bob Koch and his entire organization was a nice place to work. It was a very nice place to begin with. The people out there were very high grade, and we really had a good time out there as well as working. And I enjoyed my summer out there.
But he was the kind of person that didn't impose his views until he felt that it was necessary for him to say something.
One thing you could say about Bob and people of his type, they're very easygoing. There's no high pressure that I could ever detect with him. He was always calm and collected, and I think Bob Jr. is that way too, if I can call him Jr. And they're a chip off the old block, you know.
He was just a great civic leader, but you didn't see his picture in the paper very often. He was family-oriented, certainly. He was a strong supporter of the community institutions that he thought were important to develop. He was a businessman, certainly. He was had one eye on the bottom line to keep financial affairs in order.
Oh, I'd say he was a good thinker. I think he was also very varied in what he liked to do. And his brother Malcolm was that way too. And they were a pretty good team. And I worked with both of them, mainly with Bob Koch though. And it was a very, very good experience for a guy that was young and didn't know anything at that time.
But he was very anxious for the community to grow in good directions. And he was a kingpin in the Chamber of Commerce and in all those institutions that relate to the business and industrial life of the community.
Bob Koch Sr. was a great role model. He was very calm, he was very collected, and he was never trying to impress anybody. He was just himself. And he's the way people should be, I think, yeah. He was, yeah.